posted in the form. What's next item on that?
I'm from Australia, as I said before, and I don't get out of Australia much, other than I know in our country that it's quite conservative. We are building an engagement process with our Commonwealth government in getting our voice heard as Indigenous people. And as I said before, it's built on our relationship model and an acceptance that we are fellow human beings in Australia, and that the core essence of our challenges, and one of them is water, is that we focus on what water means to our survival of our people and our country. And I think that there is a great challenge in trying to embed this into some international process. To me, the challenge has to be put, albeit from an Indigenous person, supposedly out in the middle of nowhere, or the back of Timbuktu, as they would say in Australia. But it seems to me that there's a challenge to the World Water Council to engage and incorporate the interests of all people in the world in relation to water. And the challenge is there for the World Water Council to think about where it wants to take the notion and the concepts and this whole impassioned plea from our Indigenous community.
Yes, it's a good question. The declaration, from my understanding, reflects a pretty deep process of Indigenous peoples that met in Australia to grapple with not only specific concerns of water, but the climate, forest, the land, the culture. And when I seen this document, it captured me because it reflects a lot of our concerns from North America. The development of these declarations are very important in the political process and political strategy as Indigenous peoples, because it reflects an expression of our reality. It reflects an expression of our struggle. Because I'm not surprised in my travel and our network as Indigenous peoples on these issues that many non-Indigenous peoples do not know that we even still exist. Many people don't know what our struggles are. So it's a campaign to get the message out. With this declaration, you may read about it in various publications. It's a tool for us to communicate with the world. But also here we have, those of us that come here, we don't want to just come to exchange t-shirts. We want to have some kind of political agenda that will result in some sort of action that's going to resolve the struggle that we have around water management, but also a struggle that recognizes not only cultural diversity, but we cannot have the recognition of our cultural diversity if we have government systems and corporate systems that violate our human rights. So woven into our work is the demand for the rights of Indigenous peoples to be recognized within the political framework of local governments. There are many governments of the world who have Indigenous peoples that have no legislation that recognize that. So this is a tool that we utilize. That's why we mentioned the United Nations Declaration on the Rights of Indigenous Peoples, which took 17 years for governments of the world to agree to those principles and articles of that declaration. Thank you.
Do you want to say something?
Yes, just to follow up your question, you bring up an interesting point, and clearly these declarations have to be endorsed by some like-minded states. On one of the earlier slides, I mentioned the Blanket Declaration. This was a meeting that the North American Indigenous peoples had in Mexico last year, and from the three countries, Canada, the United States, and Mexico. A declaration was established out of that process, dealing with the four elements: water, air, land, and fire. And really, it was a declaration made by Indigenous peoples. However, the Mexican government liked what it saw, and And it brought that declaration to a number of forums, the UNFCCC, for instance, and also the CEE discussions, and handed out that declaration to a number of state parties. So even though we're hoping that one of the states or one of the parties to this conference picks this up and moves forward with it, but we realize it takes time. These declarations will be implemented at some point. The declaration of Indigenous people may take some time, it may take years, it may take decades, but eventually it will get there. These are first building blocks. And we will, of course, source this out and we'll talk to like-minded states to see if this is something they can support and something they can build upon in future discussions.
You know, it does appear to me that you need the devil's advocate here, and my first comment would be that it would have been extremely helpful had we distributed a copy of this declaration for. I would, if it is available, then people might still bring some in and distribute it, because I'm not necessarily persuaded that everyone has a copy here. And you will give me one. No, but I was just saying that, you know, people might not be aware that this is available. This is number one. And number two, you know, again, if you shall bear with me as a sort of friend who wants to advance the cause, one cannot necessarily prepare these things without taking into consideration the broader world in which we operate. And let me just give you an example here. It says, have a right, for example, I see in front of me the point here, have a right to access and control, regulate and use water for navigation, irrigation, harvesting, transportation, and other beneficial purposes. When you use words like control and regulate, and then define all these functions, one must remember that these are being used by other people at the moment as well. And if you don't take that into consideration, unfortunately, the number of people who are able to support you will not be as many as you might like. So the wording must be very carefully chosen and greater awareness that you want to sort of extend the benefit to all and address some problems in line with all residents of an area. Well, it seems that we have managed wonderfully, and we are getting done on time. Is there anyone who would like to take the floor, or we shall conclude the session? Yes.